In the time of King Herod, after Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea, Magi from the east came to Jerusalem, asking, "Where is the child who has been born King of the Jews? For we observed his star in the east and have come to pay him homage." When King Herod heard this, he was frightened, and all Jerusalem with him. And calling together all the chief priests and scribes of the people, he inquired of them where the Messiah was to be born. They told him, "In Bethlehem of Judea, for so it has been written by the prophet. And you, Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, and by no means least among the rulers of Judah, for from you shall come a ruler, who is to shepherd my people Israel." Then Herod secretly called for the Magi and learned from them the exact time when the star had appeared. Then he sent them to Bethlehem, saying, "Go and search diligently for the child, and when you have found him, bring me word so that I may also go and pay him homage." When they had heard the king, they set out, and there, ahead of them, went the star that they had seen in the east, until it stopped over the place where the child was. When they saw that the star had stopped, they were overwhelmed with joy. On entering the house, they saw the child with Mary, his mother, and they knelt down and paid him homage. Then, opening their treasure chests, they offered him gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And having been warned in a dream not to return to Herod, they left for their own country by another road. Now for the sermon.
The Magi, the three kings, the wise men, whatever we call them, these visitors are in some ways a bit of a mystery. They come from the east, but since our story takes place on the eastern coast of the Mediterranean, that's a big chunk of land. And if you think about it, the trade routes from the north and the south can also bring you in the eastern side of the city. That's a lot of territory to cover. So what do we really know about them? Who are they? Kings is actually a promotion that the early church gave them. No translation of Scripture lists them as kings. But there's a psalm that references kings that will bow down to the Messiah. Now, they thought that Cyrus of Persia was that Messiah back in Isaiah. So it's not like they had to be predicting Jesus with this. But the early church decided they must be kings to match the old Scriptures, as we pick and choose, and that being a tradition in the ancient church too. They get wedged into this prophecy and turned into something they probably were not. Astrologers is probably the best direct translation. Those who looked to the stars, who studied their movements, so they were educated. Maybe we could best describe them as educated spiritual people of privilege. They have gifts to share, thus the tradition of 3 visitors. It never says how many there are, but we've decided it must have been 1 gift per person because, why not? Although, how many of us have complained when somebody showed up with 2 gifts, when we all agreed it was going to be 1? Or we all pitched in together? We don't know. We do know they had the means to travel, that they had money to be able to stay along the way, to transport gifts of great wealth. It may have suggested they had security with them. They could actually take the time out to go on a journey of an unknown length of time. That's privilege. Not everybody can just do that. And they're spiritually inclined in some way, but they're clearly not Jewish. They don't know the prophecies, they don't know the traditions, and they don't know that going to the king was a bad idea for everybody. So, educated spiritual people of privilege. It's probably about as close as we can get. In the end, what we do know is they bring gifts. They bring gifts, And we know they put Jesus and the family in mortal danger along with every other child born in Bethlehem. Good job, wise people. Now, honestly, these may be some of the most relatable characters in the Bible. Think about it. They have good intentions, but things keep getting complicated. They know a lot, but keep proving to themselves how little they know. They know how to follow the stars, but they still have to stop and ask for guidance along the way. And along the way, they find themselves hosed by expectations and other people's ulterior motives. Anybody been there? They have great intentions, but despite their knowledge, despite their effort, they end up bringing 3 impractical gifts to a poor family and cause Jesus and his family to be refugees in another country. How often have we thought we understood, but really we're just scratching the surface? How often have we thought we were helping, only to discover we made things worse? How often have we thought the path that was set out before us was clear, only to discover ourselves at a dead end? Or to discover we missed a turn a mile or so back? Or we take a detour and discover we are on an entirely new journey altogether? These travelers are pretty easy for us to identify in many different ways. We can look back, take a look at the gifts of the Magi as symbols if we want, the gold, the frankincense, the myrrh, the royalty, the priesthood, the sacrifice. We can do that. I've preached that sermon many times. You can find them on YouTube. We can step back and say, what do these gifts tell us about Jesus? But for today, let's stick with these travelers for a little while. Let's stick with these pilgrims, these educated, privileged spiritual visitors with great intentions and high hopes, searching for answers in all the wrong places, weighed down by a load of wealth and extravagance and some wonky expectations along with everybody else. Let's stick with these travelers who have so much in common with the modern church, who have so much in common with our privileged society, who have so much in common with us. Let's stick with these travelers, seeking something, wanting to share, still learning, still growing, still discovering. People still discovering, despite all their accolades, despite the historical promotions, they are people in this story still learning. In the life of the larger church, we celebrate Epiphany, the 12th day of Christmas, my true love brought to me. Celebrating the Magi, discovering the child, and a partridge in a pear tree. This day we remember Jesus' blessing in the temple as Simeon and Anna proclaim what this child is out to everyone in the midst of the ritual community of the church. And we remember the Magi wandering into, as the scripture says, the home where they found Mary and the child. So again, they're not at the manger. Either someone's found room for them in the inn, or they went all the way to Bethlehem and then had to go find them in Nazareth before the family then had to take off to Egypt because they stopped at the king's house first. We've spent Advent talking about what we were longing for, what we're seeking. Celebrating on Christmas what God has brought us. And then on Epiphany, historically, we have celebrated what has been revealed, what has been discovered, which brings us to today. So let's stick with these travelers just a little longer. These travelers who discovered so much along the way, they went home different. They went home a different way. Who stumbled and bumbled into discovery, who left behind all that weighed them down and returned another way. As we enter a new year, what have we discovered from our past bumbling and stumbling? What do we need to let go of before we can move forward? As we enter a new year, what are we still longing for, and how far are we willing to go to find it? We've talked about what we're longing for. We've talked about what we've discovered at Christmas, but that assumes that it's a neat, tidy process that's done. That we follow the calendar, and the calendar dictates the time of reflection, the time of discovery, and now we apply it and move on. But some of us have needed this whole season just to be honest about what we're longing for in the first place. And just because we're longing for it doesn't mean we found it. It's not that easy. As the Magi discovered, you don't just follow the star from here to there and you've arrived. Once you step out into that journey, once you go into the experience, into the wilderness, it's an unknown. It's a new opportunity. The call is to go, to step out, to follow the longing, to see where you need to go to fulfill it. That longing, that calling from God. How far will we go to find our answers? Will we step out and take an extraordinary journey in our new year? Or will we look back into the past, explore our own hurts that need healing, and take time longing? What is your longing and where is it leading you? How far will you go? Will we leave behind what is comfortable and known? Will we forge new bonds among what were well-known places? Will we redefine the space right around us with family and friends, transforming relationships into all they could be? How far will we go? Will we ask questions and explore new paths? Will we teach and preach with renewed passion? Will we dare to learn and grow? Will we harvest and share the fruits of our past labors? Will we go and visit strangers' homes, make new friends and break bread together? Or are we called to seek reconciliation with those we already know maybe too well? Will we discover the ways God has guided us? Will we discover God's presence with us now? What are you longing for? How far will we go to find it? How hard will we work? How much will we trust God? Let's be those travelers. Let's not just relate to them. Let's be those travelers, looking at the wonder of God's creation, seeing the beauty in the stars, and allowing it to inspire us to acts of courage, to moments of awe and wonder and praise. Let's be those travelers, daring to seek the extraordinary, daring to dream in ways the world has told us to stop, daring us to claim dreams we set aside years ago because they were impractical, irresponsible, unattainable. Let's be those travelers, setting aside logic, daring to make mistakes, daring to enter new spaces, stumbling and bumbling into a new year, trusting that God has been with us, God will journey with us and guide us along the way. Let's be those travelers, trusting Jesus. Let's be those travelers, discovering another way.